wonder what they're like.
From our viewpoint, Professor, they're either suprahuman or subhuman.
Hello out there in the YouTubeverse. It is Max, and I am back at ya. This time I am doing more. Yes, more. I can't get enough Modern Horizons 3, so we're going to do a premiere draft yet again of this format. I've been having a ton of fun playing it, so I'm not stopping playing it. Apologies if anything sounds a little echoey. My setup is a touch different just because it is super duper hot here on the East Coast. Like, it's been oppressively hot. And my office, where I normally stream from and record from, is right near a big window. So it is disgusting in there. So I'm not doing that right now. I'm not having that. So we have a Writhing Chrysalis in our pack. So that is definitely a firm indicator. We have the White Orchid Phantom. 2/2 flying, first strike. When it enters the battlefield, destroy one target non-basic land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Obviously more of a like Hate Bears style constructed card, not really for us. Couple of white cards in the pack. Rush of Inspiration's a cool card. Aether Spike's solid. Conduit Goblin. Nothing that like I'm gonna miss. Writhing Chrysalis is just such a messed up card. I think the other cards worth mentioning are the Evangel, which is solid, and the Guardian of the Forgotten, which is also solid. But I'm going to take the Chrysalis, even though it's double colored. It's just such a ridiculous card that I don't think I can pass it at this point. There's the Shifting Woodland, which isn't bad. There is the Drownyard Lurker, which is good, obviously. If we're going to go into Eldrazi, that's likely the pick here. Just going to look. There's not much in here for green. So it's like the Woodland and the Lurker. Like that is a blue card. So we do want to try to make sure we are at least have a firm color that we're interested in. The Royal Cartographer is really good. Skoa is fine. I kind of like the Drownyard Lurker or the Shifting Woodland, but Delirium's a little harder to get in these Eldrazi style decks, so I'm just going to take the Drownyard Lurker. I'm going to get a Windswept Heath, of course, to help Delirium, but that's okay. There's the Watchdog, not the greatest thing. The Hungertide Rises. You can sacrifice any number of creatures, search your library for a graveyard for a creature. It's kind of like a very slow Birthing Pod style effect. Not the greatest, not the worst. Nothing standoutishly good in this pack. A lot of white cards keep coming around. I might spec on the Watchdog, but that is pretty far from what we've taken. Though we could be like Naya Eldrazi with like Watchdogs into Chrysalis or something. Is interesting. I could try to stay the course and take Gatekeeper or Simulacrum, both of which are relatively weak. Hungertide's okay. Like, it's not great. I'm just going to take the Watchdog. I think it's the strongest card in the pack. Okay. And we have the Swelling Scourge here, which is the, you get experience counters. Creatures get +X/+X, where X is the number of experience counters. It's fine, but not great. It's, like, fun. Dog Umbra's solid. Another Windswept Heath. One of these two might wheel. Somebody might snatch them up. They're not the highest, incentive target. I'm just going to take the dog number here. It's good. It goes well with the Watchdog. If we have to pivot off our first two picks, so be it. And it looks like that's the direction we're going to end up going, that we could take something like the Necro Bloom. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, create a plant token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, which is the part in Limited that's very difficult to do, you create a 2/2 black zombie, and lands in your graveyard have dredge 2, so you can get back your lands, put more. I think we're just going to take Witch Enchanter. It's, like, not an exciting take. Like, we don't need the Frogmere Enforcer just because we're not really much in the way of artifacts at the moment. Thraben Charm is solid as well, but the Witch Enchanter is, being a modal card, is really quite good for us. Golden Tail Trainer here this late's pretty good. Fangs this late. I mean, you can obviously see the direction things are starting to shape up for us. There's also a Solstice Zealot here. Like, look at these 3 cards. 3 of the strongest modified payoffs you can get. We'll take the Golden Tail Trainer and see where things go. I do like Flare of Denial a lot, but we have no blue cards outside of, like, arguably the Drownyard Lurker cycle. So I'm not going to take that. This pack's kind of a disaster for us outside of the Deceptive Landscape, so I'm going to take that. It kind of lets us dance in both worlds here of super late Dog Umbra, almost on the wheel, and a Guardian of the Forgotten here I do like a lot, but I'm going to take the second Dog Umbra. So we get the Guardian back. We could take the Nyxborn Unicorn. Certainly an argument for that here. I think I just like the Guardian, though. Yeah, I think I like the Guardian here. And then we can take the Oswag, or Oozwag. I keep wanting to call him Oswag. Like, that's his name or something? Very strange. Okay, we'll take the Spirit here, I think, over Hunger Tide, overtune the narrative. So definitely got shunted out of Eldrazi in a big way. Lost out on our first 2 picks, which is not common, but I'm hoping this deck does well enough. It helps highlight the idea that you don't necessarily need the first 2 picks always, right? Like, you don't always need to make your first 2 picks in the draft. So you can still make a very good deck if you see it and you know to pivot. That's the trick, right? You got to see it and know to pivot. Apologies if my voice got crazy loud. I turned up the volume just a little bit, and I'm fiddling with the direction of the microphone, or the placement of the microphone more specifically, just to make sure you can hear me clearly. Like I said, it's just a bit of a shift in setting for this video, just because it is nasty, nasty hot on the East Coast, like unreasonably hot. If we end up, like, Drownyard Lurker could make the deck as just a big colorless card if we need to. Look at top 6 cards. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment from among them, put it in your hand. Yeah, this is fine. It's not great. I'd rather not play it, but this is fine. I mean, that's the thing about Modern Horizons, is just the power level's high, right? So a lot of the cards are pretty good. Buried Alive versus Island here. We'll just take that, and we get a red card last. Okay. Enters battlefield, create a 1/1 green forest for each time you kill. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Savine's Reclamation's a great card. I think that's what we're going to take over Witch Enchanter. Wing It is a solid combat trick. I'm not sad about a Wing It. There's a Discharge here. If we thought we were going to go Naya, we could try to force our way back into some kind of Naya deck with Writhing Chrysalis. I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do, though. That it is an extremely powerful card. I'm going to take Savine's Reclamation. Really good card. Hoping for more. At this point, we want, like, Watchdogs and things that are a little lower on the curve to pay off Savine's Reclamation. Return a permanent with mana 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. If this was cast from the graveyard, you can copy it and choose a new target. So this can get 3 things back for us directly into play. So that's a big, big game for us. Koram's good. Proud Pack Rhino, super solid. That goes great with our card Savine's Reclamation. It's pretty awesome. Really have my eye towards removal. Thraben Charm is definitely up there on things that I wouldn't mind getting. I do think we want the Proud Pack Rhino in this case, though. It's a really solid 3 that does exactly what this deck wants to be doing. The third Windswept Heath that we've seen. There is a Glasswing Grace, which is a solid card. I don't think we're super interested in it here. Don't think we want that. Suppression Ray is good. We're not an energy player, but just being able to tap down in an aggressive deck is really powerful. And then stop us from being killed if we happen to get some energy. Which is nice. I'm just going to take Thraben Charm, though. We'll keep it simple. I don't need the Hope Ender Quaddle. It's a good card. I just don't think that's where we want to be right now. Thief of Existence lets us dance between both universes that we are working towards. We have one colorless source. There's also Basking Brood Scale, and that just honestly might be better for us. Static Prison is an energy-based card, so we're not necessarily looking for that, though it is removal. Here's just a nice, solid card, Repurposer. Not much to say about it. The Kite is fine as well for this deck, but Repurposer is just an excellent card. Another Brood Scale from this direction. We can see Eldrazi is getting soaked up, going the opposite way. All right, good. Watchdog's super late for us. That's kind of when we want to be picking them up. We know that Archetype might be open. Horrific Assault is solid, probably a little bit better than Wing It, just because removal tends to be better than a combat trick. Conventional wisdom would tell us here. We'll take the Wooded Foothills just in case. I'm not saying that's going to make us play Writhing Chrysalis, and we've already passed another. I don't know, but we may end up picking up a red card we really want to play. It doesn't hurt to have that. Those packs were coming fast and furious this direction. Goodness gracious. 17 playables right now, if we want to run everything. What I'm worried the most about is removal. So Thraben Charm is kind of where it's at for us. That's one of our better spells right now. Sko is double red. I don't think we want that, but I don't think we're going to play any of these other cards either. So I'm just going to take this and put it in the sideboard for now. I don't think that's something we want here. Levy I'm not interested in. Not interested in much here, honestly. I'll take the Hope Ender just in case. Wow, some stuff. Blue wide open from this direction. That pack was all right. Like, there wasn't anything really high end outside of the Savine's Reclamation that we got. So we'll see how this third pack treats. This deck is definitely balanced on a razor's edge here. Legion Leadership is okay. Signature Slam is likely the card we're going to end up taking. We don't need a third Brood Scale, though it is nice again. But Signature Slam works great. I'd be happy to get back Hydra Trainer, Oozewag, or Basking Brood Scale. I'd take the Legion Leadership. I doubt we'll get it. I don't think we want the Inventor, even though it makes a token. That's not really for us. The White Orchid Phantom, I could take or leave. It's a 2/2 flying first strike. It can kind of, like, quote-unquote, hurt the Eldrazi deck by blowing up one of its colorless sources, but, like, that's so thin. Here, there's not much in the way of green, just Foul Strike, which I'm happy to play one of, but I'm just going to take the Nyxborn Unicorn over one of my favorite Magic cards of all time, Decree of Justice. I just think we want cheap things that can help us modify. What's the Fleshraker do? It's kind of cool, but probably not what we want. I think just another Horrific Assault is where we want to be. Sylvan Safekeeper isn't a bad wheel, potentially. Same with Stump Stomp. Like, I would happily play a Stump Stomp, but I think just the Horrific Assault being a cheap bully effect is pretty much what we want. Here, I think we're just going to take the Guardian. There's not much else for us outside of an Expel. We're a little too low to the ground, I think, to want an Expel. I'd play one, but I don't want one, if that makes sense. Like, I'd rather not have to play it. So, puts us down to 21 playables right now. It's just plenty. There's a Rumble, which is probably the take over a single colorless land. Lurker's not doing it. I don't think anything else we really want. I do like a... yeah, I think we have enough permanents in this deck that a Malevolent Rumble's fine. Evolution Witness is a good choice. Fits really well with the deck. There is a land that's on point, but right now we have 22 playables. This would just be a really solid 23rd. Now, you could argue that there is a chance we get something we would want to play. Yeah. Flare of Fortitude's a little thin. I think I'm just going to take land because I need the... That gives me some fixing here. I don't have to play Wooded Foothills. I know there is argument to play that over a forest just to help thin, and maybe there's validity to that. Like, it really could be the case, right? Like, I can get away with probably 16 land. Using that to help thin is great. Oh, wow. Got an Auxiliary here and a Pack Rhino. I'm going to take the Auxiliary over the second Pack Rhino. I know that's a better curve card and works better with Savine's Reclamation, but having a way to close the game with the evasive offerings, I think is really good. Fledgling Dragon, not for us. Inventor, not for us. The land is double off color, so we just kind of get beat, I guess, all across the board. There's Decree of Justice. I'm going to take it. I don't think it makes the deck. We're not a Decree of Justice deck. It's a cool card, but it's not one that just goes into every single deck. I know it can cycle for 3, and it's like, okay, it can make some tokens, but we're more worried about 1/1 counters than tokens in terms of our synergies. So maybe I do put the Wooded Foothills in. This is another double color land here, green and white. I don't think we want to play quite that many colorless sources. I don't like the colorless sources are not required by any stretch. Oh, Wing It. That could make the deck. I don't think we have a combat trick, so Wing It being one of those, and again, offering an evasive way to deal damage is quite nice. I'm going to play 16 land for sure. I'm just going to drop a forest, I think. Let me just take a look at my... Oh, yeah, I'm going to drop a forest. Especially with Wooded Foothills and double way to find... I'm questioning the double tap land, or the double colorless land, just because I do feel like we might struggle a little bit. I'm just going to take a quick peek and see if colorless means anything to us. If it doesn't, I'll probably end up dropping both, considering, and keeping the Wooded Foothills as a fetch land. I don't see anything that is going to make it matter. So I'm going to just drop both. I do like the idea of thinning. We cannot cycle these cards, so that's a problem right there. So this is 15 land. I don't think we want that few. I do think we want 16 land. Obviously, the double-faced cards helping us a little bit, which is... let me find it here. There's so many different borders and things. The Witch Enchanter being our double-faced cards. So if you count that as our 17th land, I think that's fine in a deck that's this aggressive. We're more likely to lose a game we flood out in this style of deck than a game that we get screwed because our curve's pretty low. It's not ridiculously low. It's not crazy low, but it's low enough. So we're just kind of looking, seeing if there's one card that we really want to cut. Wing It's like hard to argue with, and we don't have a card. Like Malevolent Rumble could be the cut. My notion is that we should be doing something here on the 4-drop, perhaps. We just have a lot of those. It could be the Rose-Caught Knight. When it enters the battlefield, we look at 6, Artifact or Enchantment, put it into our hand. Artifact or Enchantment, 0 Artifact, 4 Enchantment. Just seems like it's going to whiff a lot of the time. And then otherwise, we're getting a 4/5 Vigilance for 5. Just not the best rate. I think this is fine. It keeps us lower to the ground. If we really feel like we need something, we can put in something maybe more inexpensive and cut a land after game 1. But I think this is totally reasonable to give a shot to. We're not the strongest in terms of synergizing with what our color pair wants to do. We don't have the most trade-offs, right? We didn't take the Hydra Trainer in the 1 pack, and that's a bit of a problem. So we can keep this, and the reason I think is because of the Rumble. We can Rumble on 2, and if we get a Plains, great, and that's worst-case scenario. So I'm just going to keep this and hope that we can draw the white on time. If not, we have a lot of looks to find a Plains early on in this particular hand, and there's the Plains, right? Like, and I'm not saying that it's definitely a case of better lucky than good. I just think the odds are so high with how many Plains we do have that there's no reason to risk mulliganing a card. Mulliganing a card in Limited is extremely difficult. Like, it makes your game significantly lower. I forget there's a percentage floating around of how much it lowers your chances every time you mulligan a card in Limited. And it's not insignificant. Like, it's legit. So we'll see what the opponent does here. They have a Basking Brood scale. Same style of modify that we're on. We have the Gold-Tail Trainer that can come down next turn. They have a Repurposer here. So does that mean we want to try to bestow? Do we want to just... Like, I think here we're playing the Gold-Tail Trainer no matter what. I don't want to trade into the Repurposer if I can help it. We see what looks like it's going to be just a colorless land. They're adapting its sorcery speed, so that leads me to believe, I was going to say that they're going to double attack, but clearly not the case. Okay, our big choke point's white at the moment. I think the answer, though, is the area auxiliary. Potentially, like, it supports 2, which is pretty good. We're still looking for white source, so you could definitely argue Malevolent Rumble might be the right choice, and then we could find a second white source. That might be just the conservative and straight-up best approach to this. So let's try that. It gives us our best chance to find white. We fail to find. So in that case, the 2-drop is playable. We could also just equip or bestow. I think I'm going to take the Repurposer. It's just a very good card. We lose our signature Slam, which is the biggest issue here. So we can equip or bestow either one of these, because this would bestow for 3, this bestows for 2. We'll do the trainer here. It's the card we want to pump the most. It plays really well with the area auxiliary. So I don't want to attack because I don't want to lose my Gold Tail Trainer to a double block. But we do have to start thinking about how we're going to win the game. Right now, that looks like it's going to be area auxiliary. The support can only go to other target creatures, is the one negative, but we also have the Unicorn. So it looks like they're going to do something. Okay, I thought they were going to sacrifice an Eldrazi at the end of turn the way they were hovering. We'll see. I mean, like, Auxiliary with the Unicorn bestowed on it is a pretty gnarly combo. Again, the choke point's white, but I'm fine with single spelling on the next turn if we have to. The Golden Tail Trainer is kind of the key card to make all this work because it can pump a squad so significantly. Like, playing Auxiliary into the Oozewag is pretty gnarly stuff. Like, that's a follow-up turn that's pretty scary. Put it really hemming and hawing, it seems like, over what they want to do. This leads me to believe that they have something very, very defensive to do. So I'm wondering if we want to area auxiliary, if we want to repurpose, plus we can bestow the Unicorn. But if they have just like destroy attacking creature, that's a big problem for us. Could just be Oozewag. Problem with Oozewag is we just don't have any follow-up to that. This could be the thing. It's tricky. It is certainly tricky. I think this is going to be the thing, and the reason is this offers some sort of flexibility, right? So we definitely want to target this. I think we probably target the 0/1 because they don't want to remove it, and that gives me some form of blocker that matters. So I don't know as though I want to attack and again unleash kind of subject the Golden Tail Trainer to a double block, but I kind of have to try to figure out something to do. And I need to get whatever this trick is out of their hand. Okay. So now I can argue that I could use the Nyxborn Unicorn. I'm not going to. I'm going to see what they do here. They were willing to take a ton of damage, and they just didn't do anything. So this would lead me to believe that they're preserving the colorless sources for a large Eldrazi. So I'm glad we did get the area auxiliary down. You gain 1 life. It has Annihilator too. So this was what they were angling for, right? This isn't the scariest thing. The life gain was the biggest problem for us, for sure. So we just have to figure out what we can do here. And I think the answer is pretty straightforward of bestowing this. Let me see what this has. This is just hexproof, right? So we will bestow this onto the auxiliary. I think we have to play Repurposer here. Oozewag doesn't do the most for us. It is a 4 to present a blocker. But I think we have to do this. This is, like, pretty scary for them, obviously, like, quite lethal. And we still get a token after the fact, plus the bestow, is pretty crazy, right? So the question is, what do we want to follow up with? I think the answer is probably just Repurposer, because, again, we will get something when it dies. I'm not going to cast the Oozewag by sacrificing 2 of my tokens. I think that's a little too valuable. See what opponent has. They're very close to dead. They really need to deal with our flyer here. So they're going to make a 4/4 flyer. That's not going to do it, yeah. Okay, awesome. So we did kind of force their hand on exactly the right turn. I think if we hadn't, we would have fallen far enough behind. They could have maybe gotten in an attack with the Annihilator. Granted, I don't think that would have been the end of the world either. So I think we probably sat a turn too long, honestly, but I think we identified at the very last turn we had. So I think we did it just in time. Like, I think that was pretty much just in time on that regard. So I'm happy about that. All right. Opponent goes first. We have the Rumble on 2. We have Savine's Reclamation. We have the... It's not, like, the strongest hand. Certainly not a mulligan, though, right? Like, we can cast everything in our hand. We have the Rumble to help us find something of value, though last time we were looking for a white source and couldn't find it. So there's that. Opponent using their landscape. I respect it. Saving a little bit of time. Yep, play planes and pass. Next turn's just going to be a Rumble. I think we're going to look for... I mean, if we draw a Watchdog, I'll absolutely play that over the Rumble. Other than that, I don't know as though there's a 2-drop I'd want to play. I'd like a proactive 2 because, like, we don't have a good 3, so Rumble's just fine on 3 as well. So I guess if I have to Rumble on 2, I'm looking for a proactive play on 3. If I draw a Watchdog, I'll play Watchdog on 2 and then Rumble on 3 to make sure that I have my 4th mana if I don't have it already, so that I can play Guardian of the Forgotten or the Oozewag, depending. If I have the Watchdog out, the Oozewag definitely is going to get played because that's a Vigilant Trampler at that point. They have the Generatorium. Yep. So we're just going to continue to follow plan, and now we want to try to find a proactive 3-drop, and we will take the Proud Pack Rhino. So we can either jump the curve and get Guardian of the Forgotten down, and then play Proud Pack Rhino. The good thing is we could put a shield counter on it. So we'll see what opponent does. They could turtle behind the Generatorium. Like, just chill and then, like, end of turn tune the narrative or something. And they're going to Sorcery Speed Electrozoa. Okay. So we certainly could Dog Umbra. We certainly could... I think we just want to be proactive and do this. It's not the hardest thing for the opponent to answer. They can just use Discharge or the Fanged, whatever it's called, the Devoid red card. there's a lot of options to deal with the Guardian of the Forgotten if they choose to do so. That being said, I do think it's a card that if that's the direction they want to go, they kind of have to do it. They know we have the Proud Pack Rhino, so if they don't deal with it, they'll have to deal with it in response to the Proud Pack Rhino targeting the Guardian. Shrieking Drake to bounce the Electrozoa is an interesting play. Okay, this card's from Visions, if you didn't know. I think it's a pretty easy just play out the Proud Pack Rhino. I think I want to target this because I'd like to attack with the Guardian. And I don't want to just throw the shield counter away. Like, the opponent could throw the Drake in front just to soak up the shield counter, and that'd be kind of a loss for us, where now at least we have a 3/3 that'll stick around on board. The other argument could be, like, maybe Broodscale and then hold up Adapt/Dog Umbra. Totally valid and might likely be the better choice. Looks like they're getting ready to swing with their Shrieking Drake. I do believe there's a combo with Shrieking Drake in Limited. I don't know what it is, or I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, so we'll see if the opponent can put it together. Or if it's just going to be removal on one of our creatures here, which is fine. Like, that's totally not a big deal. Looks like here they're going to be holding up some form of counter magic. So, a few options here. I think the best thing to do is just to go ahead and attack. We know they have the Electrozoa, so I probably leave back the Proud Pack Rhino here. And they have 2 energy. So if we play the Brood Scale and they go to counter it, they'd have to pay 3 energy, and that would take most of their energy. Like, they'd get 2 from the spike and then spend 3 to counter the... They'd have to spend 4 to counter the Brood Scale. So I think this is a fine play here. Let me just end the turn. Like, they're just not doing anything, right? Like, obviously they are stuck for land. Like, I'm not trying to, like, play up any... Like, not trying to downplay their position in any way. But since they're not adding to the board in a meaningful way, I want to try to play around what I can. So I'm just going to go ahead and activate the Brood Scale. Like, I don't see a reason to not. Is there any reason to play out a land? I don't believe so. So I think here we just go ahead and attack with these. We know they have the Electrozoa. If they want to trade for the Brood Scale, that's totally acceptable. Like, they're just taking a beating. Again, if they held up all their mana, we can play the Repurposer if we want to. We can just hold up the Dog Umbra. I'm going to play this, and I think I'm going to play the Repurposer because, again, this puts them in the same position. There's the Aether Spike. So it puts them up to 5. I don't know if they forgot that I have a spawn token, but I'm just going to pay it. That's kind of a disaster for them. I think they were trying to spend exactly what they needed to spend the Generatorium on, but they should have just spent the last energy, I think. Unless they have a plan that, like, maybe they have something really good. No, that was just that was kind of a disaster for them. I think they just didn't realize the spawn token could generate a mana. Sorry, opponent. That was rough. They got land screwed, and then that one mistake was all they needed. But sometimes Magic's like that. You put yourself in a position where you're not allowed to make a mistake because of the land situation. I've been there many a time, and I'm sure I will be there before the end of this video. Big thanks for hanging out and watching the video. We're here every Thursday with a new video of some stripe. You can take a look through the video catalog. There's tons of stuff for whatever your nerding of interest is. Sam and I also host a Lorcana podcast, Illumination. Check that out wherever you get podcasts. It's a really fun podcast to do, talking about Disney Lorcana. It's a trading card game. Really good. Thought it was not going to be. Ended up being awesome. Played a bunch of it. It's been a ton of fun. And now we face a bear who is a cop. So we have 4 lands. We're in a good space there. The thing that concerns me is the curve. We don't have a play until turn 3. We're on the play. Or no, we're on the draw, and that's kind of even worse. It is a very hard one. I'm going to keep it just because, again, I'm not about mulliganing and limited, but this decision right here could be, we're talking about one decision and we lose, this could be the decision that we lose on right there, just the keep itself. Like, if it's just land, that's a huge problem. Now, we got a 2-drop, thankfully, but it's not a super proactive 2-drop, right? And we're playing against what looks to be a pretty aggressive deck. Okay. What are we looking for here? Definitely not a land. I'll take the Evolution Witness. It gives me a different 3-drop if I need it. It also can get back a land, interestingly enough. So let's see if they discard. It seems early for that effect, but it's possible. I would think their hand has enough going for it that they're not leaning totally on the Party Thrasher. Because that's a little bit more chaotic, right? This card dips into the chaotic elements of the color red by making you kind of choose, do you want to forego plans in order to just embrace whatever could be. That's great flavor. And it's also a strong card, right? That just turns 1 card into 2, which is excellent. So they have a Slith and a Plains here. So they can choose one of these to play. If they choose the Slith, likely they're going to make their land drop. They chose the land, so they have a land light hand is what that would indicate to me. But they did discard a double-faced card, and they flipped over a double-faced card, so we probably had the indication that things were a little bit land light for them anyway. So we're against the Boros Energy aggro style of deck. What do we want next? I don't think it's the Witness just on pure stats alone. I think we want the Golden Tail Trainer. Yeah, I mean, like, there is argument for playing the Aerial Auxiliary, but on an empty board, that feels horrible. There's also the argument for playing the Oozewag, but that's kind of on the trivial side for them. I could also play the Witch Enchanter and then just destroy the Mandibular Kite. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I could also play the Trainer. I'd rather them answer this card and just that nukes the Mandibular Kite. I don't have to worry about taking a bunch of flying damage. Let's see if they choose to trigger the Party Thrasher. This time it looks like they do not. This is the beginning of their pre-combat main phase. Really starting to embrace the various phase triggers. Okay. The Mandibular Kite comes back. That's okay. We have a blocker for the Goblin. So they're going to pump the Kite. Likely not attack with the Goblin. I will block the Party Thrasher if it comes in. I know that they could, like, get me, air quotes, like, with a pump effect. But I'd rather just preserve my life total. Like, I don't mind. Like, they didn't lose anything, right? Like, there's no reason for them to not. All right, so we have 3s. We could Aerial Auxiliary. They could blow us out in terms of the support effect. But I do think that putting a blocker up is smart. We could similarly repurpose her, but then we're just kind of being mana inefficient. Granted, our hand is relatively high costed, so I'd rather run out the bigger things. So I think what I might do here is just play the Oozewag, because it's not a disaster if this gets damaged at instant speed. And we still have a blocker for the Goblin to disincentivize that attack. And then we have the auxiliary, which, yeah, see, exactly. This is exactly what they were doing. They're down to 1 card here. The Party Thrasher obviously being able to turn lands into plays. They just have to be at sorcery speed, I believe. This turn, yeah. It just turns everything into a sorcery speed play. So they're taking the most aggressive line they could and just removing everything in the attempt to push through a little bit of damage. Which, if we can get some things down, will be okay for us. So I think we want to play the Repurposer to create 2 blockers and a mana source. So I think that's fine. That lets us get the most out of our area auxiliary next turn. That gives us 2 things. So I saw Mountain go along with a Glyph Elemental. They're just moving too fast. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Glyph Elemental. Enchanted creatures +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on Glyph Elemental. Got it. So quite a good bestow card. Likely going to go on the Mandibular Kite or /Germ token. We don't have a way to blow them out. Unfortunately, we're 1 mana short of Signature Slam at instant speed. The question is, do we use the 0/1 blocker? I will say opponent's got a nice setup here with the Party Thrasher being able to get rid of lands in hand and the Glyph Elemental actually getting something tempo based out of their lands if they do get a land, like if they were double land off Party Thrasher. So like their setup is quite good. We're in a pickle. So we have Signature Slam. The problem with Signature Slam is we don't have a follow-up to the Signature Slam. So what I'm thinking is maybe it's just area auxiliary, target the Repurposer and the token. I think that's the direction we have to go. This puts the board at parity, which is a good thing for us. So let's see if the opponent has a land that they don't want. Hexgold Slith makes sense. Stump Stomp and Siege Smash. Stump Stomp. So likely, it's actually kind of a tough Stump Stomp. Destroy target artifact doesn't do anything. The option for Stump Stomp is they could play it as a land to put a 1/1 counter on the Mandibular Kite. They took the Siege Smash. +3, +2, and Trample. +3, +2, and Trample. So that would turn it into +3, +2, and Trample. Okay, I was going to say, I can double block the Party Thrasher. That could be a complete disaster for them. +3, +2, and Trample. I'll take my card in half. So that makes anything better with the Mandibular Kite. Okay. Having that was nice. Now we can Watchdog plus hold up Signature Slam. I don't think we can attack yet. See if they have interest in Party Thrashing. Party Thrashing kind of good for us here, actually. Thraben Charm is bad. Skoa is not the card they're going to take. So they're going to shoot something. I think we're just going to have to let that happen, most likely. Though, if they target Repurposer, that's good for us. That's the card that we want them to target. Because then we can put a 1/1 counter onto the Repurposer and make it a 5/5 and shoot the Glyph Elemental or the Party Thrasher and then the repurposer lives. The negative there, and then they can't equip the mandibular kite because that takes their whole turn. They're electing to equip the mandibular kite to the glyph elemental. Yep. Till end of turn, right? Let me play that card this turn. Yep. So they might elect to give it the +1 for more damage. I think I'm going to target the Watchdog. So now they just kind of can't do anything. Because they can convoke the Thraben Charm. Oh, convoke, yeah. I said it out loud and like my brain didn't connect what those words meant. So they're going to shoot the repurposer. So there's nothing I can do about. That still takes care of the glyph elemental. So now we have the evolution witness, and I do think we need to consider using it. That's going to take up our whole turn. But I do think we need to get back the Airy auxiliary. Could consider getting back the witch, whatever it's called there, witch enchanter, to get rid of the kite again. But I think having a flying blocker / attacker if we need it is good. So they're just going to take the inventor and play it, or just play the mandibular kite. Makes more sense to play this here because the convoke isn't quite enough there. So I luckily am fortunate enough that my mistake with the convoke isn't going to cost me the game here. Make the party thrasher bigger. Sure. I don't think they're attacking here, but I could be wrong. Watchdog, I think, plus maybe the token. Could be the witness. We'll do the witness just because if I do have to use... Question is, do I want to play the witch enchanter to blow up the mandibular kite? I don't think so. I could Proud Pack, and I do think I want to do that. And we'll get back the Oozwag. Like, this is just a disaster for the opponent. Like, now our board is just full of giant threats. Another mandibular kite? Well, that's annoying. Okay. So the witch enchanter is going to have to yet again do more heavy lifting. Whenever another non-token creature, which isn't going to happen here. Yep. Yep, so they're going to be able to do nothing. Can't really do much here. Yeah. Six, and 6 is 18. So it's lethal. They have to make threats, and we have the Thraben Charm, obviously, to break up advantageous blocks. I just let that go through, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm fine just killing off the Party Thrasher at this point. I don't think they can beat us. If that's their only block, that's tempting. I think this is just fine, though. They could be afraid of getting additional 1/1 counters. I think this is fine. I think this is fine. Okay. Yep. It was like the worst turn they could have drawn the Scurry of Gremlins, but I think we're okay. Our blocks don't look great. They're going to attack with everything because they have no choice. Oh, that's annoying. The big double face card coming up in the way of my blocks is what I meant when I said, "Oh, that's annoying." So 3, 6, 9. Wait, what am I blocking here with this? Block a 3, 2. Six damage getting through. Okay. So we got to synergize a little bit there, which was nice. I was afraid the deck wouldn't be able to do a whole lot with the synergies, but taking the Evolution Witness there was pretty awesome. So really paid dividends for us. I don't answer that survey question. I think it's shenanigans to ask that, because it's just clearly win I had fun, lose I didn't, 99% of the time. So I just don't answer it. I don't think it's reasonable. Like, it's an emotional question that comes up at a weird time. I think it'd be more valuable to ask that survey question at the end of a draft. Like, did you have fun? Because I think a lot more people who are in middling results, 4 and 5, would be willing to say, yeah, I did have fun. Versus, like, right after a game where it's just, like, pretty much like, you're like, yay, I won, or boo, I lost. I don't think you're going to be like, oh, it was such a good game. Like, it's rare I come off of a loss and be like, wow, that's really cool. That's why I like Cube so much, right? Because that's one of the few formats where I'm like, I got my ass kicked and the opponent's deck was sweet. So, there's that. I just don't like that survey question. Take a minute while this loads up to pitch you our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/superliminalfilms. You can find us over there every Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, playing some Magic, playing some other games. It's a ton of fun. Check it out if you are so inclined. Click that little bell, and you'll get notified when we go live. It's a ton of fun. This might be our first mulligan of our run here. Double white with all green. Even on the draw, I think is not where we want to be. Oh, boy. I think we have to keep it this time. Dog Umbra buys us like a turn, and we have a draw step in there to get there, and we know we're going to put a Plains on the bottom. Right? Like, I think we put Plains on the bottom. Like, it's just such high upside to be like, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, like, we need a land, pretty much. We need a forest. There's no way around that. Okay, better lucky than good, as they say. So, Brute Scale will be our 2 and 3 play. Oh, Riddle Gate Gargoyle. That's not the worst, but it ain't good. I kind of would rather see the Gargoyle early than late, honestly. And these go around pretty late. Like, only one deck wants it. It's a good card, though. Definitely is like a get back in the game style card that has beat me on definitely at least one occasion that sticks out in my brain. Up to 6 energy already. Are they going to pump this early? Okay. Tons and tons and tons of energy for them. Question is, do I want a horrific assault? Do I want to add to the board? I think I just hold up adapt or dog umbra. It's tough. Maybe I just take the gargoyle off the board and hold up Thraven Charm dog umbra. Like, I just want to take that pressure off. It gains me life. I can hold up a removal. Whoa, that was quick. Did I accidentally hit something weird? I must have. Maybe I'd like hit a hotkey on the mouse or something. But I think just taking the pressure out of the air assault is nice for us. If they play another one, I have a Thraben Charm. Like, oh, that's not good. That's tricky. We can dog umbra that and then Thraben Charm. We could try to Thraben Charm this now with the trigger on the stack. I think I'd rather try to dog umbra it though, honestly. If they counter this, fine. I get to kill the Guide of Souls with the Thraben Charm, and that's what I'm looking for here. Okay, and that shuts that off for the future. Sorry about that. The dog was confronted by Sam. So I think we probably want to Thraben Charm. The biggest disaster here is we did not draw a land. So it's like, I just think we try to take out the Guide of Souls. I just don't think we can afford to do anything else. If they counter it, they counter it. There's just nothing I can do about it. Not really sure what flashing in the Electrozoa was going to do at that point in the sequence, but okay. I mean, the negative, you can see it, right, is we're stuck being really mana inefficient. Oh my god. Yeah, I think we lose here. We don't have another... I'll give it a draw step, but we're just done here. Yeah, we're just done here. We're good here. We're mana screwed against an opponent who's just going rare into like curve out perfectly, and we're clunkily trying to spend removal on things. It happens. Like I said, it's going to happen where there's a decision point in the game and we're going to end up losing after we make the decision. I don't think that lost us the game. I think the opponent's hand was just quite stacked. Not much we can do. They drew their very bomby cards quickly. We drew awkwardly, to say the least, after our first mulligan of the run so far. So, I mean, that's going to happen. All right. Let's see here. We get to go first. Oh, we have a 2-3 curve, and both our colors. No reason not to keep. So that's really nice for us. Looks like opponent, unfortunately, is mulliganing. I mean, fortunately for us, in terms of, you know, that's a win potentially. Like, that increases our chances of winning, but rather play a good game on the stream than just take a win because the opponent had to mulligan or something. Like, always feels a little rough. But we'll see. I mean, we could get wrecked. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they did mulligan. First opponent on Swamp, I do believe we've faced. We could Proud Pack Rhino if we want to. I think we just want a Golden Tail, though. Golden Tail, put the Unicorn on next turn, attack, attack, is a pretty rough sequence for the opponent. They might be able to kill the Golden Tail trainer, which is fine. But if not, we're going to be able to attack for a pretty significant amount of damage. Looks like the trainer might bite it. I'm not sure. There's the 1 black. Destroy a creature. You gain a life for each of its colors. I forget the name of it. Oh, they play an expanding ooze instead. That's good for us. Start off with this. We want to bestow this onto this. So they can double block the Gold Tail Mentor, and we only get to remove either the Ooze or the Vampire, is the one negative to this attack. Yep. I think we just take that out. Though the Vampire is quite tempting. Yeah, I'll take out the Ooze, I think. And then we have the Unicorn still. It just backfoots them pretty significantly. So we'll see. I mean, it just takes a follow-up removal spell here to get it. So one downfall to me attacking is them going double block into removal spell is legit. They didn't use the kicker. So it's just a 3/3 devoid that gets a land. It's fine. I think it's just going to be the Evolution Witness here, to be honest. We just get the Golden Tail Mentor back. It's just so good for us. We take the turn off of attacking, but then being able to Proud Pack Rhino proliferate, potentially, especially if we can get a block in this turn, is pretty nice. Like, we could just block with the Unicorn, for example, and then just use the Proud Pack Rhino to proliferate, get the Witness trigger, get the Unicorn back. And then we could, if we draw a land, get the Proud Pack back. Looks like they're interested in the same thing, just getting their Ooze back. So both kind of light on resources, trading back and forth. Kind of what these decks do. I think here I'm just going to attack with the Watchdog, because they trade, and it looks like I'm holding a trick here, but really I'm just going to use the Proud Pack Rhino. It's not the greatest, because then I lose a little bit of value off of the Proud Pack Rhino. Yep. So they're going to likely play the Expanding Ooze again next turn. We need to figure out a battle plan. Like Dog Umbra, maybe, depending on what they do. Just like solid card. Okay. Okay. So we have 5/4 that can be profitably blocked, can be like unprofitably double blocked. We could throw away the Dog Umbra for Umbra Armor. That seems a little weak. It's tough. We could throw the Proud Pack Rhino into the fray. Could attack with the Golden Tail Trainer to get the Evolution Witness to pump up, to make it so they have to double block. They do have the Adapt here as well. So that shuts off the life-linking threat, and I think that's just fine. That's pretty bad for us. Let me just wait and adapt the Brood Scale here. They can exile a land. That doesn't scare me too much. Cursed Marauder. So they're going to sacrifice the Dream Drinker Vampire. We're going to sacrifice our Nyxborn Unicorn. Because it's non-token, right? Yep. So now we're just looking for things that put counter on Evolution Witness, basically, so we can kind of recur. That's rough. Like, they're just doing the thing better than we are. And they can adapt 1 for green-black. So they can challenge our Evolution Witness. That's not a free block. We don't get a double block. So we're definitely falling behind. They don't have to spend the mana here. They can just take out whichever one of these they so choose. So if we can get a 1/1 counter on the Evolution Witness, we can get back the Proud Pack, which would then trigger the Witness again. Ooh, last card was a good one. Okay, that plays. Okay, So basically we're playing completely heads up -1 card now. So we'll see what they can do. And they can definitely exile a white source. That's probably what they're likely going to do. His second card, a real card. Yikes. Interesting. I don't think we attack here. We just hold the board at parity. The problem is, excuse me, with the amount of lands they've drawn, that's 8. We've seen 6. So they're up 2 lands on us, and they have the white and the colorless sources to thin to mitigate the amount of colorless sources that they draw. Yeah, I'm gonna play it just because there's no reason. Like, the sandbagging is certainly something, but just I can't remember if there's a double white card in our deck that could potentially punish us for not doing that there. Going forward, I'd probably sandbag a land, truthfully. That second white source specifically gives me a little bit of pause. So it looks like opponent's deck's going to be exactly what we were talking about here, is just thinning so that they're drawing something more relevant. Because now they've seen 10 land. So their odds of seeing a land are much, much lower than ours at this point. Oh, that's okay. It thins. It's 2 lands in 1. So, I mean, if you got to take it, you got to take it. So they have the Dross Claw. At 17 life, that doesn't scare me, but definitely is a card that we need to keep in the back of our mind. They don't have good attacks just because the Oozwag's so big. We don't have good attacks because they have so many creatures. Activate the Oozwag here. No reason not to. Savine's Reclamation is good. Proud Pack Rhino, please. That's probably the best draw in the deck. Or likely in the top couple. I think we want that. This. I think the Mentor here is worth it. Sorry, I was quiet there. I was just thinking if I wanted to attack there. They do have a good double block against the Brood Scale, but I don't mind if the Brood Scale dies because we have the Evolution Witness coming down potentially here. So they're gonna lifelink the vampire here. Yeah, sure. Interesting they chose to double block that way and not use the Myco spawn in there. Just because of trample. So they're probably going to sacrifice another land. Looks like they might be interested in sacrificing a creature, which would be really strange to me. They're looking for a land. They're just sacrificing the living weapon. Makes sense. Sure. They're not going to use the colorless land? That's interesting. They got rid of a blocker, but didn't then thin out again. That's interesting. That's 9, 10, 11, 12. They could have gotten through 13 of their land. Okay, yeah, that plays. Adapt 4 is legit. They can't block anything on our board, so it's like they have to now double block the Oozewag, and then we get to come in with a 3-3, a 4-4, and a 6-5, and the Oozewag gets to mentor the Witness. So I do believe we have them here. Savine's Reclamation was an insane draw. Proud Pack Rhino's just been also quite similarly completely busted. And obviously the MVP of all of this is the Evolution Witness in these situations. Just completely doing overtime for us. Crazy. Alright, up to a 4-4 Myco spawn. Okay. Is there anything worth getting back right now? I don't think so. Maybe. Yep. Like, oh yeah, we can just get a removal spell and another creature. Yeah, Savine's Reclamation, such a messed up card. I mean, that was 3 cards. Like, just kind of undid some of our sins, right, from the earlier part of the game. Like, it benefits us trading off, right, in the similar way to what the opponent was doing with black-green, where generally you want to trade off because you have the ability to recur a lot of things. It was similar with the Savine's Reclamation there. Like, it playing a similar role there. So we got to trade off a bunch of creatures early on and then recur them back in a really efficient way. I completely forgot it was in the deck, so that was crazy. 2 colors. We have a 2-drop and another 2-drop and then a 3-drop and a 4-drop and a 4-drop. I mean, I can't say no to that. That's crazy. Probably the best opening hand in terms of, like, curve that we've seen. I wouldn't play the Witness on 3, I don't think. I think it's too important to the deck's game plan. You gotta appreciate the opponent respecting our time there. Thank you, thank you. Looking for land. Pretty straightforward. Let me just play this out. I don't really care if they counter it. Just looking for land here. See if we get Electrozoid. But I'm willing to do that here. Again, we have the Evolution Witness, so okay. Let's play 2-drop. If they count again, if they counter it, they counter it. That's thus is life. Yep. Sounds good. They elected to take the 2 damage over Flash in the Quaddle as a surprise blocker. Reform is going to put an end to our shenanigans pretty fast. That's for sure. Land there was nice. So the question becomes, what do we do? Oof. This is a tricky one, to be honest. I guess we'll Savine's Reclamation and use it again in the late game. Can't attack into the Reform, unfortunately. We needed the Dog Umbra to deal with the Reform, and then we're in okay space. But the Auxiliary is what I'm really looking for. So we'll see if they use removal here. Unfortunately, kind of stalled out. It was a good-looking hand, just missed. If we don't miss any more land drops, like if we can get land probably as the next 2 draws, like if we have island, or excuse me, plains, forest on top of our deck, I think we're in an okay space. Just attack, period, okay. It's good, they have a golem already. Yeah, starting to overwhelm us pretty good. Good news is we have the Auxiliary here now. Opponent's on 6 land. They play a flyer. Back up to another golem. The Watchdog doing a nice job here of being able to hold back the golems. We have the Oozewag that can come down similarly and do that. Okay. Another Watchdog's not the greatest draw. Here we could be mana efficient. That could catch us with an Aether Spike. I think we just play Watchdog here. Oof. Okay, that's bad. Yep. So they're going to be able to hit us for 5 and then 5. So we're going to take 10 here. Trying to think if there's anything we can do. Not like in response, obviously. We need a good draw here. This gives us another mana, which is nice, but it doesn't do the most. Mentor's good, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to play the Proud Pack run. Maybe I save that because of the shield counter. Like, that seems insane, but I think we probably just play out the Oozewag. Because I think we need the shield counter at this point. We're going to take another 5 in the air, unfortunately. Shield counter could help. Because, like, the problem is that the Sky Claw gets to keep threatening us. They're getting low on cards in hand, which is nice. But I mean, maybe the point of Savine's Reclamation... Well, no, it's only 3 or less, so I can't get back the Area Auxiliary with it is the problem at the end of the day. There's the Dog Umbra. That's sweet. Okay. So, can I do stuff? See if I can play this thing. This is a little scary. I was going to say if they can deal with it, but I do have enough of the Dog Umbra with the... I don't think we can attack. We're just kind of have to build up a big board and then try to hit them with all of this stuff and the Oozewag giving trample. That's kind of the play. But they have a lot of toughness on board right now. They have 6, 11, 12, 13 toughness in just ground. Return target spell. It's pretty bad. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I guess I'm flashing in Dog Umbra. So we only take 2 in the air now. I don't know if we have the gift of enough time to do everything we want to do. If we draw land, we can adapt the Oozewag. That might be just an O12. If they're worried about the attack. Yep. Yeah, it's probably going to lose us the game, too. Though, we do have enough time to replay the Area Auxiliary. Might be what we have to do, and just hope that's good enough. Okay, it worked. Golden Tail Trainer gets one. Brute Scale gets one. It makes another colorless. So the good news is O12 can only block one thing. So it's really just, can they kill us here? I don't like that they're hovering over that Skyclaw. Red-blue usually doesn't have a way to do anything, though. For an enchantment, I mean, specifically. All right, we're going to see if this one works. I think this is our best bet to winning here, or at least clearing a good chunk of the opponent's board. The O12 gets in front of the Oozewag, which is actually like kind of hysterical. But they still have the small matter of 4 other gigantic tramplers they have to deal with. They have to be careful about the way they block that Golden Tail Mentor or Trainer, because I don't have to put it in front. I don't have to put a damage on that Reform. Right now they're taking 9, 5, 5, 4. I don't think there's anything they can do unless they have a trick, honestly. This is just so much damage. Yeah, they're done. Oof. Yeah, Proud Pack Rhino is just bonkers. Even stuff for mana we were able to really... But that's what I was talking about when we were building the deck. I can generally... I have a better shot of winning a game I'm mana screwed with a deck that's this low of a curve than I do with a deck that gets flooded. Like, if the same deck gets flooded, it's much more of a disaster, right? Because imagine I get flooded instead of screwed, so I have a lot less things to work with. I'm inefficiently using things, but in the late game, I do have some ways to expend my mana that makes it not too bad, and you kind of see what I can do even on limited resources here is pretty neat. So I have the Witch Enchanter as a secret white source, and I do believe that's going to be good enough to keep this hand. I will obviously play a Forest first, so it gives me 2 looks for a Plains before I go. There you go. So now I don't have to use the double-faced card. Brood scale, huh? I don't think there's going to be much we can do. We're just going to be efficient and play ours. We can't block theirs. They'll be able to adapt it. Not much we can do about that, and then we'll just make a repurposer, I think. Brood scale will just chill for a while. They're going to get a tap land? That's interesting. So they're definitely just adapting here then. Yeah, I was going to say, good play. Would it... Where? They did not adapt? Okay, I'm confused. I kind of just want to play repurposer here. I don't want to necessarily bestow. I could just hold up. Like, I could assault. They could do that, and then I could just, in response, brood scale, and then their brood scale dies. But I think I'm just going to play repurposer. That all seems like a little too cute. If they want to adapt and then block with an Eldrazi spawn token, that's totally cool. They did not adapt. They're waiting to Molten Gatekeeper to adapt, but now they're in like really big trouble. We didn't draw a land, so we are going to have to use the Witch Enchanter. I'll pay 3 life here, I think. I think we just hold up Dog Umbra here. I don't think there's a need to Proud Pack Rhino. Like, sacrificing the spawn tokens. Like, I guess the Molten Gatekeeper's just, like, their plan is to make a bunch of Eldrazi spawn token. Okay. Sure. They can't, they have access to 1 mana, so they still can't adapt. So it looks like they're just having mana trouble. We're going to bestow this on the repurposer. Slam for 7. I think we just hold up the Dog Umbra as opposed to Evolution Witness. We don't have anything to Evolution Witness back. So I think we'll just hold up Dog Umbra, and if they don't present a blocker, then we just win without having to try. If they have a blocker, then we just put something on there. Yeah, there's a Writhing Chrysalis. What a messed up card that is. Yep. They have a follow Perfect Assault, maybe. Wow. They're going deep. Wow, auto tap got me there. I should have left more green up. Granted, we don't have anything in the yard yet. Sure. It just seems like such a slow prospect to be doing it this way. Okay. So they can shoot the repurposer? Or the brood scale. Sure. But it's like next turn I'm attacking. I think we just want to do this. It's like now they gotta just... Okay, they're just taking the damage. Okay. They were definitely tough with... They had a tough mana situation. It's a novel idea. I just think that a lot has to go right for that to be good. Like, that good. Like, they really played... Like, they lost so much value on their brood. Like, I would have rather seen them use the brood scale efficiently and then play the Molten Gatekeeper. Like, they were trying so hard to get that damage out of the Molten Gatekeeper that they ended up losing value through the game on the whole, right? Like, they would have had one more spawn token in there that turn. They just elected to not adapt because they wanted to have the Molten Gatekeeper out first for a damage that they never got. You can't hold that desperately onto a notion. It's a cool idea, and it worked great for them, and it would have worked just as well, and they would have had an additional blocker and not been dead that turn. You have to use your cards efficiently. Making a play like that would be I'd only advise, really under the circumstance, you were going to win if you made the play. And even then, depending on the circumstances, it might not be 100% correct. So, tricky. This is a tough hand. Because our first play is Dog Umbra, and I don't love that. So, we got to draw pretty well. Obviously, Dog in the first two would be fantastic. I mean, oh, crap. Watchdog, not an Umbra. Double Umbra here is nice. Like, it's like a feel-good that it's like, okay, we might be in a good place to be able to shut off a couple things before we die. But just playing like Repurposer on turn 3 looks kind of abysmal, especially if they're on blue-white energy. That's going to be a really tough match for us anyway. Yep. And that is what they're on. Piss. Ugh, gonna run my Repurposer on Aether Spike, huh? Okay. It is what it is. I'm not going to make plays. I'm just, I can only make plays when I can make plays. The good news is the cash trigger on the Repurposer is quite nice. So, let's see if they get another color. They could. It's unlikely. They got black. That's interesting. That's the color I expected the least. Okay. See what they have here. Nothing? Interesting. There's the Watchdog. You're late. Do I want to combat and just see if they do? Like, what's the worst that could happen, Not that. Just that. Like Electrozoa, maybe. Is it the worst thing? No. Okay. I'm just going to play Watchdog here and hold up Dog Umbra. Like, it might just be a kill spell here on whatever they deem to be the best creature at this point in the game. Yeah, Breather last. Sure. Breather last kind of bad against the Eldrazi because they gain no life. Not that it's bad. Any kill spell's great. One black kill something is great. Okay. Okay. I think here we'll just play out the Oozewag. And the turn. No land there's a little rough, but our hand's pretty good. So we'll see what they discard here. It feels like they might be looking for a land drop or two. Like, at least a color, more than a land, per se. So they've had their pick of the litter, right? Like, in terms of their colorless search, this one might have... Yeah, this was blue-black, and this was all the colors. The art on this card is extremely weird. Like MC Escher inspired. Weird staircase with soul coming out of it. Twisted Riddle Keeper, huh? So they're just going to chill and surveil a bunch? Or investigate a bunch? Oof, we are just mono. I think I'm going to use this and bestow it. The problem with if I bestow, I'm just like so mana inefficient. Once again, let that get me. See what they have. It's got to be something. I don't think they would hold this up for no reason. Okay. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't really do much. Yeah, the problem is we're just like against an opponent where a proactive threat would force them to like what we're giving them is the luxury of time, right? Like they have the ability now to spend time cracking clues and things where we want like the Oozewag's really helpful because it slows down. If you're going to spend time doing that, you lose turns, right? Where this kind of rewards them. And not to say they haven't been interactive. They have been, right? They've played 2 premium removal spells. But we need something a little bit more proactive than what we've been applying pressure-wise. And not having land, like missing out on the ability to pump the Oozewag, potentially. Granted, that would have been even a disaster for us completely. But like opponents able to dirtle a little bit more with cards because of things like this. Now we have the horrific Assault, which is nice. But they can interact, right? Like that could be a problem. They get to push 2 useless cards to the bottom here. I mean, we only have 1 threat right now, so them having an interactive spell is kind of a disaster for us, to be honest. And not having a Dog Umbra there up because of the auto tap was particularly bad. Looks like there's going to be an Aether Spike or similar style counter. So it could be a Flare of Denial. No. If they want to preserve the Visionary, they have to kill the Auxiliary. And they had the perfect answer to it, too. That's okay, because the Repurposer gets to come in. It's just we don't get full value with the token. I think they probably have to toss the Visionary in front. Because making it a 3/3 doesn't do a whole lot. And this is the problem, right? Like, we're using kind of good cards against pretty bad cards and getting like, you know, I should have used the Repurposer there. At least we get to take it out. So they used a kill spell they would have used anyway, and we lost our... We basically had to discard Horrific Assault, but we gained 3 life off of it. So it's not like the worst blowout of all time, but it's still not good. So we're going to blow up our... I mean, but they give us a flyer, which actually, like, kind of neat. So if they use the... They have a Static Prison. Yeah. I mean, they have it all. We do have a dog umbra, which is nice. Gosh, there's a fruit fly, and it has just been aggressively going at my face. So apologies for all the weird noises I've been making. See, now it's like, it just hasn't lined up well for us. Like, I can't adapt if I want to remove the Witch Enchanter, but, like, is it worth removing for 1 damage? Probably not, honestly. So, but we're giving them, I mean, at this point, just basically, like, how many cards they get to draw. Like, imagine we got to keep a proactive threat, and that possibly is, like, me playing around Counterspell a touch too hard. But we're in a tough spot here for sure. So they get to return the... Nothing really good here. I don't know if that's going to be good for them. Yeah, I'm sure they have a synergy that they're going to try to impart, but yeah, I just don't know if it's worth the Witch Enchanter. Like, my thought is they're going to spend 1 and a black to use the enchantment. Polluted Delta. Yeah, they're just like leagues ahead of us on cards. They're up 5 cards on us right now. Now 6. They're returning the Static Prison. Okay. I'm not 100% sure what this does other than, like, kind of slowly lets them keep the Static Prison around. Which is something. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's, like, just a strange choice. Sure. I think I'm just going to use the Horrific Assault on my turn, and I'll adapt the Brood Scale at the end of the turn here. Okay. And we can end the turn there. So now we have 3-Wind Charm to blow up the Static Prison. And that gives us the win on our turn. Like, they can use the Reliquary as the biggest issue. Okay, there we go. And now if they have a blocker, yeah. Okay, managed to do it. They turtled really hard, but just didn't have, like, the didn't have, like, a card that actually stopped us. Just a lot of things that picked things up and put them down. So, like, that little stuff. Like, they drew a lot of cards, and they did stuff, and they really put a stopper to us for a few turns, but just a couple of, like, mid-sized knuckleheads were able to clean it up. So that's a trophy. Love to see it. This is the deck one last time. It was pretty good. It had more late game than I suspected it might, just because of the synergies, which I thought we were a little lacking in, but it ended up really working out nicely. I think we had quite a few cards that were really, really impactful. The Proud Pack Rhino really was a highlight of the deck, being able to proliferate onto the Evolution Witness, which ended up being an MVP in a couple of games. I think we had just enough removal and interaction that we were able to compete, and we were able to pressure through. I would have liked to see maybe like minus a 3-drop, but our 3-drops were all good. I think our worst 3-drop was Repurposer, and that says something about how good our 3-drops were. Maybe one more Watchdog I would have taken, but I don't know what I would have cut, truthfully. Like, it ended up being really good. Maybe Indebted Spirit being our worst card, potentially, but that was still doing some work. So, yeah, that's Modern Horizons 3 draft for everybody. Hope you get to play more of the format. It is really, really fun. I've been impressed with it. I've got drafted a few times. So until next time, like I say at the end of these things, cast more spells.